A lot of foreign men think they're doing something charming when they first start talking to a Filipina. They learn a few Tagalog words, they throw them into the chat, they say one little compliment, and in their head it feels smooth, respectful, playful, maybe even a little impressive. And sometimes, it does not land that way at all. In fact, one of the fastest ways to make a new conversation feel weird is to force Tagalog too early. That sounds backwards, I know. Most men hear that and instantly think, hold on, how could speaking her language be a bad thing? Isn't that respectful? Isn't that effort? Isn't that a sign that you care about the culture? Later on, yes, it can be. At the very beginning, not always. I'm Zia, and today I want to talk about one of those dating mistakes that looks smart from the outside but can quietly work against you in the first few chats or on the first date. And the reason is simple. A lot of men do not understand what a Filipina may hear in her head when they start tossing Tagalog around too soon. Because what the man thinks he is saying and what she thinks it means can be two very different things. A lot of Filipinas are naturally more excited by a foreigner who still feels foreign. That's part of the attraction, the accent, the background, the way he talks, the fact that he feels like he came from another world. He feels new, he feels different, he feels like an experience she hasn't already seen 100 times. Now picture that same man showing up on day one, trying to sound like he already knows the system, already knows the language, already knows the culture, already knows how all of this works. Instead of feeling fresh, he can start feeling familiar too fast. And familiar is not always the energy you want right at the start. For some women, the first thought is not, wow, he's respectful. The first thought is, how many Filipinas taught him that already? A lot of them think a few Tagalog words make them look invested, but early on, it can raise questions instead of attraction. Has he been here a lot before? Has he dated a bunch of Filipinas already? Does he have a whole history in the Philippines that he's not saying yet? Is this his routine? Is he doing the same little trick on every woman he meets? That is where the mood can shift. And once a woman starts getting that feeling, the whole interaction can cool down faster than a man expects. Not because she hates Tagalog, not because she hates effort, but because the mystery changed. Instead of being a foreigner, she's curious about. Now he starts feeling like a man who may already have too much history in her lane. That matters more than people think. A lot of foreign men do not realize how strongly some Filipinas react to the idea of other Filipinas. A man can talk about travel, life back home, even dating in general, and it may not hit the same way. But the moment she starts imagining other Filipinas attached to his story, that can change the emotional temperature fast. It can make her more guarded, less playful, less open, less excited about being the one discovering him. So when he thinks he is being cute by dropping a maganda or trying out a few phrases too early, what he may really be doing is creating a question she didn't have 5 minutes ago. Where did he learn that? And if the answer in her mind is some other Filipina, that can take the shine off the moment very quickly. This is why men need to understand something important about attraction in the Philippines. Attraction is not just about effort, it is also about positioning. It is also about timing. It is also about not accidentally triggering the wrong story in her head before you've even built any momentum. A lot of men ruin good energy because they want credit too fast. They want her to see that they care. They want her to see that they're trying. They want her to see that they've done some homework. Fine. But if the homework makes you look like you've already been through 3 other Filipinas before her, that is not always the win you think it is. That's why, in the beginning, it's usually smarter to just be yourself. If you're American, sound American. If you're from Texas, be from Texas. If you're from California, be from California. If you're from Australia, be from Australia. Wherever you're from, let that be the thing. Don't show up trying to prove how Filipino adjacent you can be. Do not rush to cosplay cultural fluency. Do not act like you need to impress her by showing how quickly you picked up a few words. The irony is that the more comfortable you are just being who you are, the more attractive you usually become. Because confidence feels better than performance. A lot of foreign men think they're doing something charming when they first start talking to a Filipina. They learn a few Tagalog words, they throw them into the chat, they say one little compliment, and in their head it feels smooth, respectful, playful, maybe even a little impressive. Now, let's be fair. This does not mean learning Tagalog is bad, not even close. A man who plans to spend real time in the Philippines, date seriously there, maybe build a future there, absolutely should learn Tagalog. It helps with life, it helps with family, it helps with daily interactions, it helps him understand what's being said around him. It shows respect when the relationship has enough foundation to hold that kind of thing naturally. But that is the key word, foundation. Too many men confuse good eventually with good immediately. Those are not the same thing. There are a lot of things that help a relationship later that do not help in the first 10 minutes. Heavy emotional honesty is like that. Deep future talk is like that. Big promises are like that. Tagalog can be like that too. Once there is trust, warmth, familiarity, some real connection, now it can start feeling cute. Now it can feel personal. Now it can feel like something the two of you are building together, instead of something you brought in from who knows where. That's the difference. Early on, it can feel like a flag. Later on, it can feel like intimacy. Timing changes meaning, and honestly, this is part of a bigger problem foreign men have in the Philippines. They keep doing things that raise unnecessary questions in a woman's mind. Not because the thing itself is evil, but because it plants the wrong idea too soon. Talking too much about excess does that. Oversharing travel history does that. Acting too familiar too quickly does that. Trying to show off how much you already know about Filipinas or the culture does that. A man with game doesn't just ask, would this impress her? He also asks, what questions will this create in her mind? That is a much smarter way to think. Because early dating is fragile, very fragile. A lot of women are reading tone, implication, history, and subtext long before a man even realizes there is a subtext. So the smartest move is usually not to overload the moment with extra signals you don't need. Keep it simple, keep it clean, keep it easy. Let her enjoy the fact that you're a foreigner. Let her be curious about you without making her start solving a mystery about how many Filipinas came before her. And that doesn't just apply to the first date, it applies to early chat too. A lot of men think tossing in Tagalog on dating apps is going to make them stand out. Sometimes it just makes the conversation feel forced, like they're trying too hard, like they're reaching for a shortcut, instead of just having a smooth, normal interaction. A lot of attraction gets built by ease, and forcing little language stunts too early can break that ease. It's like wearing a costume on day one and wondering why she stopped leaning in. So what should a man do instead? Talk well, be normal, be warm, be a little playful, be genuinely interested, keep the vibe smooth, let your foreignness work for you instead of trying to cancel it out. And later, when the connection is already real, when there's chemistry, trust, familiarity, maybe some shared history, maybe she's already smiling before you even finish the sentence. Now go ahead, learn more, use more, let it become part of the relationship. At that point, it stops feeling like a trick and starts feeling like effort in the right place. That's when it works. So no, the lesson here is not never learn Tagalog. The lesson is simpler than that. Don't use it too early just because you think it sounds charming. Sometimes, the most attractive thing a foreign man can do in the beginning is stop trying so hard to prove he belongs and just let himself be what he already is. A foreigner she's still curious about. And that curiosity, especially at the start, is worth protecting.